Welcome back and thanks for staying with the AM Report. Let's hone in on one of those headline stories now. Crime is among the key areas of concern for many South Africans. And today, President Cyril Ramaphosa is once again expected to outline government's plans to deal with crime in the country when he finally takes to the lectern for the State of the Nation address. My co-anchor is Michelle Craig. She's live to us now from the Western Cape, more specifically in Mitchell's Plain, another flashpoint community there, Michelle, that's been dealing with crime for several years now.
And perhaps more specifically even, Ayanda, good morning. We're at the Woodlands Community Centre this morning, where this has been our live position for the last couple of hours, speaking to leaders of CPFs, speaking to people who are intricately involved in community processes, in court cases, in pursuing cases that they believe are not at the top priority for police officers. And in a community like this one, those cases are many. So a very good morning to our viewers once again. As we continue with our build-up to the State of the Nation address, which is happening, of course, as we know, at 7 o'clock this evening, if the EFF has its way, perhaps not at 7 o'clock exactly, but this is part of our build-up, right? We wanted to come down to community level to talk to people about what they think of the state of our nation. In a community like Mitchell's Plain, the state of this community is one of flux. It's one of many, many challenges insofar as gangsterism, violence, drugs, etc. is concerned. Of course, these are issues not only that plague Mitchell's Plain. There are a number of communities on the Cape Flats, including Delft, Kraaifontein, Khayelitsha, Nyanga, Mannenberg, Hanover Park, who are grappling with the very same issues. So this morning, my guest is Reagen Allen, who is the MEC for Community Safety here. And of course, this is an issue that is close to both of our hearts, right? Because this is where you and I grew up. Reagen, it's great to have you with us on the program. Thank you for joining us. The state of our nation. What do you think residents of Mitchell's Plain will see that as this morning?
I think it would be largely that these promises that have been made in the past, and some of those promises have never been fulfilled. I think we are in a community that have also become extremely frustrated by the lack of service delivery, but also by the lack of action. And if we consider crime, if we consider load shedding, if we consider unemployment, it's in this particular area where we grew up, where we have seen it has not been filtered to the communities here on the ground. So I think it is a matter where communities are needing government in order to show that there is trust also back in the South African Police Service. That's why a number of cases are never reported. But I firmly believe from where we are sitting and the amount of areas that you have just mentioned is all areas where we have deployed additional LEAP officers looking at those priority areas because we see the under-resourcing in the South African Police Service.
So can we talk about what Cyril Ramaphosa has said in the past insofar as challenges on the Cape Flats is concerned? This is his 7th State of the Nation address today. What has he said in the last 6?
I think if I look at the top 3, for the last 2 years alone, it is that he is going to ensure that there is better living conditions for people. That has not materialized. If we consider that he was saying that he is strong on safety, and we have seen since 2020 to where we are sitting now, that funding has been cut from SAPS, education and the NPA, including correctional services, so the entire criminal justice system have not been properly capacitated. We've also seen the remarks with regards to load shedding. We are sitting in an area where we have seen crime increasing as a result of load shedding as well. And not far from where we are sitting now, 4 of the mass murders that happened in Khayelitsha, 2 was during load shedding. So we've seen the effects when communities are unable to essentially live a life of dignity, but also when a whole lot of small businesses, and Michelle, in this particular area, there is hairdressers, there is people that is making a living based on selling food, for example. Many of their businesses have come to a standstill, which is crippling not only their community, but the entire road, their families, etc.
People who depend on them. So it's not just gangsterism and crime and violence and drugs. It doesn't happen in isolation, right? It's in partnership with other challenges. It's unemployment. It's a lack of access to opportunities. It's education. You know, and perhaps it makes it difficult to address this issue because there are multiple issues that feeds into the challenges that communities like Mitchell's Plain face.
Most definitely. If I can frame my reply in this particular way. In 2019, the Premier of the Western Cape implemented the Western Cape Safety Plan, which is a whole-of-government approach. A whole-of-government approach which I firmly believe in as a way, as a vehicle to address it. Because the role that education is playing, the role that cultural affairs is playing, the role that social development is playing, is all a key component to addressing those root causes. Michelle, sadly, we currently have roughly 800,000 people that is considered to be needs, that is not in further education and that is not in further training, which ultimately means they are ripe for picking to join a gang. I had to be taken out of Mitchell's Plain in order to go and live at a children's home because of the circumstances at home. So we do know that breakdown of families have happened for a number of generations, and the key part is that each and every department has a key role to play, together with our community stakeholders, together with the churches. In the Western Cape, the most murders are occurring on a Sunday. So I'm fully aware that it is the whole-of-government approach, and it's so complex, and I've, over the last 9 months, since sitting in this particular position, to foster those working relationships, to work with the South African Police Service, to ensure that our oversight role that we currently have can lead to better service delivery.
There's a sense from civil society organizations that the issue of gangs and gangsterism cannot thrive without the involvement of police. I'm talking about corrupt police officials, not only at district level, but as far as national level. In terms of investigations into that issue, what has your department done?
I'm delighted that you are bringing up this particular matter, because I think in October last year, when Judge Tulari gave that particular verdict, it was a sentiment that resonated across communities. And to just refresh it again, he literally said in his verdict that there is evidence that suggests that SAP's lower-ranking officers have been captured by gangsters, but including top management in the Western Cape. That verdict goes on to say even the courts are not providing verdicts and judgments that is without fear and favor. So the entire criminal justice system being captured, essentially, captured referring to there's corruption. So against that particular backdrop, the Premier and myself then engaged the police ombudsman. The police ombudsman in the Western Cape, and the only province that has a police ombudsman, confirmed that the allegations is substantiated. I have then, just 24 hours actually, directly after that judgment, I had the executive director for IPID in my office. I formally lodged a complaint with them as well, and an investigation. And just last week I followed up again with them in that regard. So that investigation is ongoing. We would ideally want to see swifter action.
Absolutely.
But on the one hand, I do know that I am at pains not to share too much information, because in that one particular case, a number of witnesses have already been murdered. So we wouldn't want certain information to be out in the public domain, but it's a serious matter. I think it is a matter that any auntie, any uncle, any school teacher in this community will tell you that they are seeing, or that they are aware that there is corruption.
They have knowledge of, they have intricate knowledge of.
And we would not want to place such people at risk. But from my side, I've seen the effects of gangsterism and drug abuse, and I want to make sure that those SAPS officers land behind bars that are corrupt and they are stripped of their rank.
Reagen Allen is the Community Safety MEC here in the Western Cape, and suffice to say, if we don't get a handle on corruption within the police service, there is no way of addressing the drug, crime and gangsterism problem on the Cape Flats. Reagen Allen, thanks very much indeed for joining us this morning. Of course, as part of our build-up for the State of the Nation address this evening. In fact, my colleague Govan Whittles is standing by. He's in conversation with the National Assembly Speaker, Nosiviwe Mapisa Nqakula.